office tied to sharing sensitive government documents with Epstein. That whole scandal also led to Prime Minister Keir Starmer's chief of staff and communications director to resign. Starmer himself has also faced calls to step down since he appointed Mandelson to the ambassadorship, despite knowing that the guy had a relationship with Epstein. The Starmer has claimed that he wasn't aware of how close they actually were and accused Mandelson of lying about it. Also, outside of the UK, the former Prime Minister of Norway has been charged with gross corruption in connection to his ties to Epstein. A diplomat and her husband are facing a corruption investigation by police. In France, the authorities have said they're investigating reports that the country's former culture minister and his family had financial links to Epstein. Prosecutors in Paris announced this week that they've opened 2 new investigations into potential sex abuse crimes and financial wrongdoing linked to Jeffrey Epstein, or with them calling on victims to come forward and share their stories, saying, "We will listen to all the statements they wish to make." But then in the US, like when Attorney General Pam Bondi testified before the House Judiciary Committee last week, all 6 survivors in attendance raised their hands to say that they had still not been able to meet with Trump's DOJ. And Bondi, she not only refused to apologize to survivors, she actually demanded that Democrats apologize to Trump.
The Dow is over 50,000 right now. The S&P at almost 7,000. And the NASDAQ smashing records. Americans' 401ks and retirement savings are booming. That's what we should be talking about.
And this was also after her department exposed the names of at least 43 victims and shared dozens of unredacted nude images of young women and possibly teenagers in the January 30th files release, all while heavily redacting much of the rest of the files, potentially withholding millions more, and insisting that it had met its obligations under the law, even while many lawmakers say that is just not true. And that's also without mentioning the people in or around this administration that are named in the files themselves. Like I said, Lutnick lied about visiting Epstein's island. Elon Musk appears to have lied about refusing to visit, and according to unredacted files that lawmakers have been able to see, Donald Trump may have lied about kicking Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago in the early 2000s. Or if he was telling the truth, according to earlier reporting by the Wall Street Journal, that may have happened after an 18-year-old told the club's managers that Epstein had pressured her for sex. With the story being that those managers relayed the allegations to Trump.
Well, somebody passing through, I was like, why is there 65 people in this
the incident
server?
wasn't then reported to police. Another file suggests that Trump may have told police a few years later that everyone knew about Epstein's behavior, but only after the department had launched an investigation. And of course, with this, there are many others whose ties to Epstein have been seen as alarming. But of the people we definitely need to focus on, it includes people running the fucking government with the power to try and hold potential wrongdoers accountable. And again, that's not to say that everyone and anyone is guilty because they're in the files, right? Guilt can only be determined after a process. The problem is, as more and more information comes out and people are actually being held accountable, usually outside of the United States, Trump and his DOJ are suggesting that the country just needs to move on. This is over, it's done, and that the process, it's never really gonna take place here. And actually, you had Trump talking to reporters about Andrew's arrest today and giving us even more reason to think that's the case.
Do you think people in this country at some point, associates of Jeffrey Epstein, will wind up in handcuffs too?
Well, I'm the expert in a way because I've been totally exonerated. It's very nice. I can actually speak about it very nicely. I think it's a shame. I think it's very sad. I think it's so bad for the royal family. It's a very, very sad. To me, it's a very sad thing. When I see that, it's a very sad thing. It's really interesting because nobody used to speak about Epstein when he was alive, but now they speak. But I'm the one that can talk about it because I've been totally exonerated. I did nothing. In fact, the opposite. He was against me. He was fighting me in the election, which I just found
totally
out
exonerated.
The last 3 million pages of documents.
But with all of that said, right, there are still lawmakers here that are pushing for more to be done and pointing to Andrew's arrest as a call to action. And so, for example, you had Republican Thomas Massie writing on Twitter, "Prince Andrew was just arrested. This was the metric I established for success of the Epstein Files Transparency Act that Rep. Rokana and I got passed. Now we need justice in the United States. It's time for AG Pam Bondi and FBI Director Cash to act." You also had Democrat Robert Garcia adding in a statement, "Now it's time for the United States to end this White House cover-up." But as far as if anything meaningful is going to happen here, we're going to have to wait to see if it leads to any more action, though I wouldn't hold your breath. I'm hopeful, but I'm also cynical. And then separate from that, it's going to be a while before we find out if anything's actually going to happen to Andrew and all these others. But also, if we can go back to Donald Trump and other news, Trump officially kicked off the first meeting of his so-called Board of Peace, where with Trump surrounded by leaders of autocracies, dictatorships, and countries accused of human rights abuses, all while the UK, Canada, Australia, Japan, France, Germany, and Italy all refused to join. Russia and China are also not on board, but Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, and Turkey paid the billion-dollar entry fee. And so you had Trump with this crowd declaring peace in the Middle East, while then also threatening war with Iran. And, as we talked about before, this Board of Peace was initially created to focus on stabilization and reconstruction of Gaza, but then Trump has since tried to expand its vision, painting the board as a major international body like the UN. But also, despite what Trump may believe, the vast majority of other nations, including the biggest international players, they have cast doubt on the group's credibility. Or as The Guardian put it, global powers, including the Washington's traditional allies, fear the US-led body is an attempt to sidestep the more democratic United Nations and replace it with a fee-paying members club run on the whims of a single man. Because among other things, in order to even join the board as a permanent member, nations are required to pay $1 billion fee. And basically all of America's traditional allies and NATO allies refuse. In fact, the only two EU nations that are on board are Bulgaria, which is a fringe member, and Hungary, which is led by the authoritarian and pro-Russia Prime Minister Viktor Orban. I mean, even Russia and China were like, no, we're good. And so you only had representatives from just over 40 countries gathering in DC for the inaugural meeting of the supposed revolutionary organization, and even then, half of those nations were just observers. And all in all, only around 24 countries have actually joined the board, and most of them have incredibly questionable governments. Again, we're talking about famously authoritarian or autocratic countries like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, the UAE, Turkey, India, and Bahrain, among others. You got people joking, board of peace, and it's just the motherfuckers that are always at war. And you've also got a lot of people raising concerns about the fact that Palestine isn't even part of the board that was created to rebuild Gaza, but Israel, which is literally the whole reason that Gaza needs to be rebuilt, they've shelled out the $1 billion to join. But with widespread doubts already swirling about the credibility of this group, you had Trump kicking off the meeting in the kind of most Trump way possible, giving an hour-long rambly speech where he repeatedly bragged about all his achievements, endorsed dictators, talked about how much he loves women, and told anecdotes about groping his wife.
Prime Minister Orban of Hungary, who has my complete and total endorsement for election. Not everybody in Europe loves that endorsement. Young, handsome guy. It's always nice to be young and handsome. Doesn't mean we have to like you. I don't like young, handsome men.
Yes, you do.
Women?
Yes, you do.
It's like men know how to have any interest. I've had
What
a
are you
good
talking
relationship,
about?
other than in my last speech they did.
No, you haven't had a good relationship with women or anybody else, you fucking delusional idiot.
Turn off my teleprompter. I got up there. My teleprompter didn't work. I'm sitting in front of all of you people and more. I had no teleprompter. I knew I was in trouble because I'm walking up. You know, the teleprompters are over. I had the most beautiful speech ready. I was all set to knock them dead. First, I had a
mobile tractor unit, and it's just not here anymore. I don't know. I must have left it out there too long, I guess. Yeah, I probably did. Oh, well, there goes that. Or someone blew it up or something. I really don't know. Well. Oh, yeah, there was a game that I wanted to look at, and I don't want to forget the thread. What was it? It was Runeterra Wildlands or something. Yeah, Runeterra Wildlands review or whatever. Huge PTR soon. No. Was it Legends of Runeterra? I think no, it's not Legends of Runeterra, it's yeah, I lost the mobile tractor unit. Oh well, that's what I get. No, what's Runeterra Wildlands or something? Runeterra Wildlands or whatever it is. What is that game I'm thinking of? Runeterra, is it Runeterra Wildlands? Legends of Runeterra is a free-to-play digital collectible card game, The Path of Champions. No. It's not Legends of Runeterra, it's a different one, and I can't think of it. MMOs in Steam. I saw it. Void Train. We'll see it again. It'll pop up inevitably because they try to sell it to me a lot. Man, only $16 for Skyrim. Jesus. Overwatch, Guild Wars 2, Reanimal, Olympus, Escape, Wildlands, Dune Awakening. What was it? I can't remember. Let's look at categories for massively multiplayer. Okay, PAX Day, Survival, Pioneer. Oh, yeah, Pioneer. Is Pioneer good? Yeah, it's getting good reviews. Dead Side, Path of Exile. There it is. Wild Terra 2, New Lands. Oh yeah, is it a... Oh, I think we did look at this, didn't we? Yeah. I don't know. Isometric? I don't know about that. Is it good? Bless Unleashed. Bless is still around? I thought they canceled this game. Is Bless Unleashed good? Seems sort of generic. Ban in generic slop. I looked at Dread Mist. No isometric. Nope. Just having a glance, just having a look. Oh, I'm out here, but I'm not going to. Normally I need to get out there.
Warp drive active.
Family dinner soon.
An escalator that stopped, you know that. It's going up, boom. It's lucky my movie star first lady was in front of me because I put my hand on a certain part of her body.
Why are you talking about this, you weirdo? You just got busted for grab her by the pussy, and now you're talking about groping your wife in public. You're so dumb and bad at your fucking job. You're so dumb. Ugh. And it sounds gross. It sounds gross when you're talking about it.
Not my fault.
Right, there was also this moment that's kind of gone viral where Trump appeared to say that AOC is attractive while also criticizing her.
The people that were at the event in Munich, they didn't graduate quickly from college. They had everything they could do. There was one young, attractive woman. She was unable to answer questions.
Right, but as far as the actual substance of this first meeting, there actually wasn't a whole lot, at least from Trump. Or when Trump actually stayed on script, he was mostly using
do you want to bang AOC? Of course you do.
Words and platitudes about how all these great authoritarian nations are going to come together to somehow create lasting peace in the world. And this particular moment got a lot of attention.
And, you know, it's peace in the Middle East. We have peace in the Middle East. Think of it. For years, you've been hearing about peace in the Middle East, and everybody who's saying it's impossible.
Peace in the Middle East.
Saying that it's pretty fucking ironic that Trump would kind of do all this while the U.S. is on the brink of a major war with Iran. I mean, literally,
yeah,
in that
what?
same speech,
Yeah, like
Trump
you're talking about
repeatedly threatened Iran if they don't agree to a nuclear deal.
We have to make a meaningful deal. Otherwise, bad things happen. So now we may have to take it a step further, or we may not. Maybe we're going to make a deal. You're going to be finding out over the next probably 10 days.
Right, but then also one of the biggest things is that even though the Board of Peace was explicitly created to stabilize Gaza, Trump really didn't focus on it all that much. And then when he did, he chose to downplay the situation, even falsely claiming at one point that the war was basically over.
The war in Gaza is over. It's over. There are little flames. The ceasefire was held.
You're
and every last remaining hostage, both living and dead, has been returned back home.
Now, that said, various members of the Board of Peace made a few notable announcements regarding Gaza. With Trump saying that 9 members of the organization have agreed to pledge $7 billion towards a Gaza relief package. And beyond that, you had Trump also saying that the U.S. would be giving $10 billion to the board's efforts, though he didn't specify exactly how that money was going to be spent. Though some are speculating it could go towards building a U.S. military base in Gaza, and people are pointing to reports of contracting records that show plans to build a 5,000-person military compound. And then you also had another official announcing that troops made up of up to 12,000 police and 20,000 international stabilization force soldiers will eventually be allocated across 5 sectors starting in Rafah. Then, of course, because no Trump event can be complete without some AI slop propaganda, you got that, with the U.S. playing a weird promotional video that blamed Hamas for Gaza's destruction but made no mention of Israel, while then also featuring seemingly AI-generated images of an imagined futuristic Gaza. And so, you know, with all that, as far as my kind of take here, I'm of kind of two minds. Right? One part of my brain's like, okay, this is kind of a standard run-of-the-mill Trump event, but then also, given all the specifics we're seeing here, like, it really doesn't seem like this is a peace organization. If anything, this looks like an attempt by Trump to consolidate power with autocrats, bypass democratic institutions, and then try to call that international cooperation. The fact that America's allies are staying away, it kind of tells you everything. Or when the UK, Canada, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan, they refuse to join your Board of Peace, but Saudi Arabia and Qatar are like, sign me up, baby. it doesn't look like you're building a democratic alternative to the UN. It looks like you're building something else entirely. Don't let the branding distract you from what this really is. And then, y'all, there's more we're gonna dive into in just a minute, but first, let me thank a sponsor and say, the fastest way to ruin a good mood is wet socks before 9 a.m. And that's exactly why you need today's sponsor, Vessi, in your life. They're known for their waterproof shoes that don't look like you're gearing up for an Arctic expedition, right? They just look good. Personally, I've been reaching for their storm bursts lately, worn them through rain, slush, wet sidewalks, spilled coffee, and whatever liquid lives in grocery store aisles. And my socks, they stay dry, mood stayed intact. They're warm enough for winter, but breathable enough that your feet don't feel trapped by noon. And also the traction is what it needs to be. Slick sidewalks, icy patches, sketchy parking lots. These suckers are stable. And comfort-wise, they're built for real life. Cushioned, supportive, easy to pull on, and no painful break-in period. Also style-wise, they work with everything I wear, which is great because I'm not planning outfits around shoes. And they come in different cuts and colors, so whether you want subtle or bold, you've got options. Right? And they're also made with more sustainable materials, which is rare for shoes built for weather chaos. And Vessi backs them with a 1-year warranty and 30-day hassle-free returns. So if you're done sacrificing socks to the weather gods, go to vessi.com/DeFranco or scan that QR code to get 15% off your first pair. That's vessi.com/DeFranco. But then diving right back into the news, we've got to talk about how FCC Chairman Brendan Carr says that James Tallarico just invented the Colbert controversy to raise money, calling it a hoax. But then he also confirmed that the FCC opened enforcement proceedings against The View for interviewing Tallarico and said that he would have gone after Colbert if the interview had aired. So that's not denying censorship, that's threatening more of it. Right, so let's break down the specifics. During a press conference yesterday, he said this.
The claimed equal time issue in the Colbert instance had to do with Democrat on Democrat violence. This was about James Tallarico looking to get a sort of a click and a view and maybe a vote and a money boost over his two opponents in the Democrat primary.
They can't stand to lose
Earlier this
Texas,
week,
so they
Colbert
cheat
saying that CBS
and
blocked
they
him from
lie.
airing an interview with Texas Senate candidate James Tallarico, citing the FCC's equal time rule. And that's that rule that states if a network gives one candidate airtime, their opponents
I was right about Tallarico. I was like, I don't like him. I don't like him. I don't care if he's a Democrat. I don't like him. I just kept saying, I don't like him. I don't like him.
are entitled to equal airtime on the network. In Tallarico's case, the argument is that
How dare you run against my beloved Jasmine Crockett? How dare you, you evil, evil Sith of a man. I don't care if you're Democrat.
that would mean that his Democratic primary opponents, including Jasmine Crockett, need to be offered CBS airtime. But, and it's a
Are you gonna run for Fulton County against Jasmine Crockett? They should. What is the DNC doing? What are they even thinking? This guy could have served somewhere else. He could have been. He could have been president maybe one day, but now we don't trust him. You're so stupid. The DNC is so stupid. Goddamn self-serving lobby-sucking lobby suckers. No, is it a fight? Or no. Hi, kitty. You want to sit in my lap? You know, I'm leaving in like 10 minutes. Yeah, it's a warning. Hi, kitty. Oh, my pretty kitty.
but went to Brazil, got a BBL, but talk shows are historically exempt from this rule. And you've had people accusing this Trump-run FCC of over-enforcing the rule to punish Trump's critics, and many feel like CBS is at the very least complicit. Brendan Carr, he dismissed those concerns, accused the media of falling for a hoax, and thinks that the whole thing was pre-planned.
You had a Democrat candidate who understood the way that the news media works, and he took advantage of all of your sort of prior conceptions to run a hoax, apparently for the purpose of raising money and getting clicks. And the news media played right into it. I think yesterday was a perfect encapsulation of why the American people have more trust in gas station sushi than they do in the national news
We
media.
deserve
And
more
actually,
than this.
the one thing that he just said that is true is that this may have helped Tallarico's campaign. But even though his Colbert interview wasn't aired on broadcast TV, it went on YouTube, all the social media places got millions and millions of views, people talking about it on TV. His campaign raised $2.5 million following the news cycle. But that also doesn't mean the other stuff he said is true, and it doesn't mean that the FCC and CBS have clean hands. You even had that FCC commissioner yesterday saying this is an example of corporate capitulation in the face of this administration's broader campaign to censor and control speech. You've got a lot of people agreeing with her, which is not surprising for a number of reasons, including during yesterday's press conference, Carr confirmed that the FCC has started enforcement proceedings against ABC and The View over equal time issues related to their interview with James Tallarico. And that, even though the show is produced by ABC News and news programs are not supposed to be subject to the rule. And then also later in the day, you had Carr going on Fox News and he suggested that he would have opened a probe into Colbert if he had aired his Tallarico interview.
Would you have gone after them for violating the equal time rule, as Colbert said?
What we've said, as we've been very clear, is that broadcasters have a unique right and privilege, a license, and one thing they have to do is comply with the equal time rules. But complying with equal time would have meant
When has that been
more.
enforced? When's the last time that's been enforced against
Well,
I used to work for CBS many, many years ago.
It's been a while, but complying would mean more airtime for more Democrats. We're going to enforce the law and hold broadcasters accountable.
That FCC commissioner is right. This is corporate capitulation. So just remember, that hoax claim, it's gaslighting. Carr says that Tallarico engineered this for clicks while simultaneously proving CBS was right to fear FCC retaliation. Both can't be true, and Tallarico didn't create the threat. Carr did. But then, actually, switching gears, next up in the news today, you might find this hard to believe, but labor unions actually shrank under Biden and have grown under Trump. Right? Union membership hit an all-time low in 2022, then hit an, I guess, even all-time low in 2023, and then the allest time low in 2024. Is that how English works? That left about 14.3 million workers in unions by the time that Trump put his hand on the Bible and said,
I, Donald John Trump, do solemnly swear.
and then of course his hand caught on fire. He then flew into the sky and said the Epstein files are a hoax. Excuse me. Sorry, it's been a very long week and I've been sick. But then over the course of the following year, as one of the most labor hostile presidents in modern American history shredded worker protections, union membership reversed. Over the ranks of organized labor growing by over 400,000 in 2025, bringing the total number to 14.7 million and pushing union density up by 1/10 of a percentage point to 10%. And actually, when you count workers who aren't members of a union, but they're still covered by a union contract, that number hit the highest level since 2009 at 16.5 million. So that brings up the question, well, is Biden actually a corporate shill and Trump a working class champion? Well, no, it's actually quite the opposite, right? A big part of the reason for this shift is that the labor market was doing pretty good under Biden and it sucked shit under Trump. I believe that's a technical term. But there was the post-pandemic recovery, and even through 2024, the US economy added 2.2 million jobs, so non-union positions grew faster than union ones, pushing their relative share down. But then last year, you had the labor market growing at its slowest pace outside of a recession since the early 2000s, so unions grabbed a larger share back. Also, I definitely need to clarify that you can't just boil this shift to changes in relative percentages. Right? There was an absolute decline in Biden's last year and a rise in Trump's first. That actually seems to have more to do with the tireless work of labor organizers and less to do with anything that Trump can take credit for. He's been ruthless toward workers. He cut down the federal workforce by some 300,000 people so far. For those still there, they've described feeling fearful, hopeless, and stressed the fuck out as he stripped them of protections. Right? One of the places we can start is with Trump taking away collective bargaining rights from over 1 million federal workers at over 40 government offices covering roughly 2/3 of the federal workforce. That was a move where you had a labor historian calling it the largest and most aggressive single act of union busting in US history, even worse than Reagan's infamous assault on air traffic controllers.
They have forfeited their jobs and will be terminated.
But it didn't stop there, right? Because Trump also ended automatic payroll deductions of union dues, which deprived them of funding. And in fact, as a result, the American Federation of Government Employees had to lay off 30% of its staff in August. And next up, you had several agencies canceling their contracts with federal unions, as well as several more fighting lawsuits to get their contracts canceled. And then to talk about something more recently, last week you had the White House telling those agencies, hey, don't even wait for the lawsuits to finish, just end the contracts now. And in the face of these relentless attacks, you had public sector union membership growing throughout last year as tens of thousands of federal federal workers join to defend themselves. And understand, that's just with the federal workforce. There's another war that's being waged in the private sector. Right in there, yes, Trump has less direct control, but he's still causing a lot of damage. And so, for example, you had him purging the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, with him then trying to refocus its attention on white discrimination.
Are you a white male who's experienced discrimination at work based on your race or sex? You may have a claim to recover money under federal civil rights laws.
Also, you've got OSHA.
Are you a MAGA? Did you get fired from your job for being an asshole?
With Elizabeth Warren and 5 other Senate Democrats writing a letter to Trump's labor secretary complaining that there were 20% fewer.
Okay, guys, I'm sorry. I've got to cut it off here. How close am I to being done? Minute 20. I'll keep going for another minute.
Worksite inspections between April and September compared to the same 6 months the year before. Meanwhile, the inspections that were carried out, 42% fewer found willful violations, which is a category that carries some of the highest penalties for employers. And the agency has lost nearly 300 employees since Trump took office. Right, and actually with this, you have experts warning that OSHA already did so few inspections before this, and since it can't investigate everything, its effectiveness as an agency depends on deterrence. And so now they're worried that employers are just gonna go, well, fuck it, who cares? We'll break the law. The odds of getting caught and held accountable, they're so low anyways. Plus, the Trump administration has repeatedly signaled that worker protections are on the chopping block. Or with it closing offices that protect coal miners, revealing plans to stop requiring proper lighting at construction sites, and moving to ease evaluations of protective equipment for workers regularly exposed to dangerous chemicals. And then it's the same story with the National Labor Relations Board, whose chair Trump fired without cause for the first time in the agency's 90-year history. And so for most of last year, the board didn't even have enough members to perform its normal duties. Right, and then you compare that to Biden's NLRB, which aggressively enforced labor laws and went after huge corporations like Amazon and Starbucks for illegally union busting. In fact, during Biden's term, filings for union elections doubled and union victories reached their highest level in a decade. But also with this, I do want to note that if you pull out, it's not as simple as like Trump bad, Biden good, it's all the now. The erosion of organized labor in the United States, it predates either Trump or Biden. But back in the 1950s, nearly a third of all workers were represented by a union. Today, it's just like 10%. You know, there are a lot of reasons for it. A few of the big ones being the shift toward a service economy, the proliferation of right-to-work laws, and the general rise of neoliberalism since the 1970s. I mean, you even had public support for unions falling to an all-time low of 48% in 2009, right at the peak of the Great Recession. But also over the past decade, it has roared back, reaching 68% last year, which is really a level we haven't seen since the early 1960s. But also, notably with that, if you break it down by political party, it becomes a little more complicated. Support shot up to 90% among Democrats, remained steady at 69% among independents, and dropped to 41% among Republicans. With support increasing across all 3 groups compared to 2016, though Republicans, their peak was in 2022 at 56%. But that, my friends, you beautiful bastards, is where your Thursday Philip DeFranco show is gonna end. Well, of course, I'll see you right back here on the channel soon with these daily dives into the news. If you want something same but also different, you can check out one of my other 2 new shows and podcasts this week, whether it be me diving deep into and with Alex Friedland or crashing out with Alex Perlman. There's really no bad choices, but hey, stay well, stay good, stay safe. I'm gonna ask you a question here in a second, and you can tell me to go fuck myself and cut it. So just gonna preface that. Yeah, thank you.
That's a great one. How did you find that? What kind of...
Okay.
Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Oh, my kitty. She's such a love attack. Yeah. Okay, guys. Gotta go to family dinner. I will see you later. I love you. Bye. You have been watching Skycat Live. I'm a full-time variety gamer all day, every day. Put me on in the background. Come to skycat.live. Click on the cast space to donate. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or follow. And I will see you later. I love you. Bye. Be back in about 90 minutes or so. Around there. Ish. I lost time. Damn it! I lost 3 hours. Well, I forgot to hit the I forgot to hit the unpause button. I don't know why. I hit the stream button, but I didn't hit the unpause button. I don't know why. But oh well. We still got a few more hours, which is good.
Like how I feel and everything. I think I've been pretty transparent. I broke it down in a community post, the stream that
I think
night,
you should stay away from
our
this.
recent stream when we first reacted to the news as it came out. And honestly, as a content creator, because like I said, Ashes of Creation was like some of my main content here on the channel for like, I want to say the last 2 years. Like obviously I covered a lot of everything else, but I think as far as the majority, I think it was pretty obvious that Ashes of Creation was
I take these little breaks so that they waste a lot of time to harass me.
Out of other MMOs and other games, RPGs, right? And yeah, someone that was really
I've been here forever.
Like it's disappointing. It's
they
really
got to kick me out of
all
here.
this stuff is now coming out. figured out not to invest in Kickstarters. Yeah, and it's a huge lesson learned, right? It's a huge lesson learned. It's why I've been constantly saying, like, hey, I'm not about to follow anything in development too hard in the future, because, like, yeah, it was a hard loss. And then, like, a lot of people want to blame, not a lot, honestly, I surprisingly haven't seen that many, but some people want to blame the content creator, like, this is your fault, you pushed this like bro, I'm not on the fucking board. Why are you mad at me for? Like, who's not excited for a new MMORPG? Like, yes, you're going to be wrong. Like, a lot of MMOs have failed in the past years. Hell, New World just shut down on me when I was having the most fun with it months ago. Like, you're not going to get me to say I'm sorry for being excited about a game. Like, hey, I was wrong. Like, this didn't turn out well. The vision of the game looked great.
It's not his fault that all the games everybody told him to play sucked. You know, it took me all my expertise to dodge them, you know, and as it was, I lost to New World. I lost 2,000 hours to New World if it doesn't go somewhere. And if it does, they'll wipe and they'll scrap, and that's fine by me. I don't mind starting over a new character, but you got to remember, I have like a fucking house. I have 3 houses or two houses. Is it 3? I don't know. Am I at 3 now? I think I have 3 houses. One of them is completely full of furniture that took me 3 years to fucking collect, running ECRs, and I don't want to lose all that. And that might be a fuck up for New World. They might need to actually maybe consider to let me keep my shit. I don't know though. Well, I found a way to tolerate mortal sound a little more, but I don't know why I really need it.
We all had fun. We all enjoyed it. We thought it was going to be something better, but it turns out it's not. And the reason why I'm even tracking any of this news or reacting to any of this news is because it is freaking thrilling. Like, trying to figure out why this happened. How you doing? Welcome on in, Shabazz.
It's not thrilling. Why is it thrilling?
Why did this happen? Like, it's actually genuinely huge.
Your mic is too loud.
That's enough of the intro. Let's
and I don't
go
mean
ahead and
sound.
get into this. So, Nephis tagged me in another video. I haven't watched his stream, so apparently, if you guys recall from our last live stream and from Nephis's last video, he has been in talks of, how you doing, Wildfire? He has been in talks with Jason Carmines, sorry if I'm saying that wrong, one of the investors into Ashes of Creation, a member of the board that we didn't even know existed.
Member of the board.
So, just in case you've been out the loop, Ashes of Creation had a board, and the main thing of this drama is that Steven claimed that the game was fully self-funded, that no one else had stakes in the company, no one else, you know, there was no board
like
of
what's that
directors
shit?
per se, right?
Oh, good point.
But it turns out that that's probably not true, right? And yeah, accountant and director of finance of a $1 billion company here. Based on my review of the documents publicly available, screenshot. Steven Sharif committed tax fraud, wire fraud, and FERNA violations from his loans. Holy, he did in fact lie a bunch. It's hard.
Yeah,
to
he
believe
is
him
a
now.
criminal. Yeah,
and that's
he's a criminal.
the thing, and that's why I want to do this stream.
I call these
feel
software
like
devs criminals, but until they actually prove it, I don't mean it. You know? This guy meant it.
So what we're going to do now is take a look at the other side, which is Steven Sharif.
How many of them are like this? If he's like this, then Star Citizen guy is like this. I had somebody give me a serious fight about not liking Star Citizen in my channel. And I was just like, I'm sorry, I do like you, you're a friend, and you're like a mod and stuff, but I don't like Star Citizen. I can see the scam for what it is. If you can't, I'm sorry. Be young and take the shots. See if the game's good. And maybe I suck because I don't get in. I bought Star Citizen. I can play it too. I don't think they charge a monthly. I can play Star Citizen right now if I wanted to. I don't. It's an unfinished game. Even if it is amazing, it's an amazing game. It's got cool, flight that you can do with a flight stick. I like that stuff, but it's not ready yet. It's not even ready to compete with No Man's Sky. I'd rather play No Man's Sky than fucking Star Citizen. And I don't really like No Man's Sky that much. It's like, all right, it would have to grow on me. No Man's Sky has grown, but I don't know why a 15-year-old game needs to grow or whatever the fuck it is, 12 or 10. I don't really know why it needs to grow. It just needs to be good. The combat could be slightly better and it would be better. I don't like some of the stuff in No Man's Sky. For one thing, there's a fuck ton of items. It does have the item implementality that I'm looking for. I like the item implementality and economy in No Man's Sky, actually. But it's like one of the few things that I like in the game. I like the space battle. I don't like the farming. I don't like the aliens. I don't like the exploration because it takes too long. I don't know. It's not my favorite game in that respect, but I like the colors and I like the music. And a hardcore character is just interesting enough to keep me there. If I'm playing passive games like Final Fantasy, which is shut down yet again, I've got to go. Oh, right, because I was turning something off, though, is why. I'm looking to turn off Tune. Turn Tune off. So take a look at the settings one last time before I leave here. I think I want all of that seems good. Oh, the bump mapping is off. And so is the MIP mapping. I don't know. Maybe it's MIP. No, was it MIP mapping? Yeah, the frames are much better, I guess. I don't know. Let's go see. Man, this timer was long. It was so annoying. These guys just left. Fucking annoying.
Warp drive active. Docking permission requested. Docking request accepted.
Yeah, sometimes I think that, like, honestly, I think Toon doesn't look as good now. And I used to think it looked way better, but I think it's more like it just makes the game look different to me than I'm used to. But now I'm just like, I don't know, frames wise, I know the frames are better if I go with this. So get in. See how much better the frames are, because I think Toon eats a lot of CPU. Yep. There it is. I was like, where is the frame rate that I actually need? You know? I need Cure 5. I'm gonna live in this system. Make so much money here. I don't even care if I lose. I don't care if I lose to them. It means I'm getting faction warfare PvP, which will only make me better, you know? So go ahead. Attack me. I don't even need this much ammo here, I don't think. But it's also, it's negligible to me. So. Yep. Elga's looking good. I'll bring a Tristan out here. I could bring the mats for 5 Tristans out here. But it would be hard. Oh, yeah. So, oh yeah. Frames are way, way better. I guess I could farm the goblin, because it's really not too hard to do, and just see if I get my Cure 5 scroll. I guess, and just save for the Cure 5 scroll. I mean, I don't have a copy of the Cure 5 scroll, do I? I get scared that I've got one. Because it's like, if I saw it, I probably would have kept it, but I don't think, Yeah, Cure 5, you can't buy that from a vendor. You have to get it to drop. That's so annoying. So, I don't know, but I know that... Yeah, I don't have Cure 5. Fairly sure. Yeah, I don't think I've got Cure 5 just sitting here. Don't think. Yeah, I'm like fairly sure I don't. Trick Staff too, but you can't replace them. And yeah, I don't think you can put scrolls in the box. So yeah, so I could Black Mage, I could BST, change job to Beastmaster. Thief. Beastmaster Thief? Yeah, I think so. I don't know if I have any Beastmaster stuff, though. I think I put it all away, which is annoying. Yeah, I have to pull out at least sheep, so let's go do that. That'll be in storage. Did we sort? We will take a stack of tuna sushi, a stack of pet food Zeta, and some... Oh, I don't know. Where's my sheep? Oh, I don't have macros, which will be really fucking annoying right now. So, don't know about that.
His side of things. How you doing, Lo? Yeah, and I hope Steven continues to give more of his side. I know he has, like, he's limited, right? He's limited in what he can say legally. Your lawyers are going to advise you to shut up. Your lawyers are going to advise you to be quiet. We'll prove this in a court of law. But if I know Steven, he's and now obviously a lot of stuff has came out about Steven, so I don't think I know Steven as well as I did.
Oh, there we go.
But if I know Steven, he cares about the court of public opinion, right? That's what we're in today. That's why, you know, I don't know where I put my gavel, but we're going to be banging the gavel today. We're going to be taking a look at everything, and we are going to now look at the other side. We're going to look at the defense, you know, right? We heard Jason's side, which is, by the way, is just one investor. We have not heard verbally from, who's the other one? Robert Dawson, if I'm getting that name right, or any of the other investors. This is all accounts from just Jason. And once again, I can't stress that this is all one person's accounts that we're going off of. And obviously legal documents is what we're going off of, right? But now we've heard Steven speak out, and I think Nephis has done a video here, which we'll be reacting here in about a minute or so. Nephis has put together a video, and since our last react, like I said, Nephis has spoken with Jason live on stream again. I have not listened to that. And also, I saw that Steven came into Nephis's chat, saying that, you know, what is it? What do you call it? The opening part when they're disclosing documents in a court case or whatever. What do you call it, chat?
Depose.
Discovery, is it? Is
Discovery,
it discovery
yeah.
that I'm thinking of? Where they're going to, like, go through documents.
Deposition.
And more stuff will be revealed.
Yeah, discovery
yeah,
and deposition,
that,
I think.
Discovery, thank you.
Discovery.
And I also saw that he said he's going to, thanks for the follow. I saw that he said he's going to figure out which content creator to give an interview with. So that'll be cool. I don't know who that's going to be, obviously. I don't think Steven may know who that will be. If I had to take a shot in the dark, I think the Lazy Peon comes to mind. He's done interviews and discussions with Lazy Peon, and Lazy Peon has been very quiet since this whole thing has came about. I'm sure he's getting his thoughts together, hopefully with a video soon, responding to things. Because he was a huge supporter of this project, and now he's just MIA now that things have shut down, so that sucks, right? I know a lot of people want to hear from him. You got Lazy Peon, Kira. Kira's done a lot of research on this and really into this. He'll probably ask the tough questions as well. Nephis himself, right? Nephis has done a good job. We might see Nephis there. I've interviewed Steven a couple of times. Of course, I would like to talk to him again just to get clarity. And I think I'd be fair. Although I will say there's some things I would want to say to him just to get off my chest. And there's a lot of things I would question. So my thing with the interview with him, especially if the questions have to be pre-submitted, is like, I want to say what I want to say. I want to ask you what I want to ask you. Now, obviously there's some things that, like, I know he can't answer or won't answer, and maybe he could tell me that beforehand. But I would like the opportunity to do that as well. But I just hope he does it with somebody. And I feel like those bigger creators with more reach may be the better option for him, right? To get that out there. But I digress. Peon hasn't posted in over a month. Yeah, I'm curious on this response. He's cooked. He donated to the district attorney's campaign fund? Really? Okay, so this is all news to me. Jason's besties, Robert, is trying to commit fraud against you, Nice, and all other content creators by transferring all of the Ashes IP to a different company so they don't have to pay you guys for referrals. Dude, there's no way Ashes of Creation can fraud me. I don't work there, bro. Now, as far as the referral things, I don't care about... Here, I will be super transparent. Do you guys want to see how many referrals I have on Ashes of Creation? I didn't plug my referral code like that. I think when I first started Ashes of Creation content, I had it in a couple of videos, but dude, I have 250 referrals, which is nothing. I know creators with 10,000. I know Pirate Software had like 40,000. And so you can imagine Peon had probably 100,000, probably more than that. That's probably an understatement, right? I was
No,
under the
referrals are not
impression
that
we
common.
were never going to get that
No.
anyway. I didn't believe that system can work because, like,
Me neither.
first off, I didn't even know it was supposed to be cash incentives on a quarterly bonus because I thought it was just cosmetics, like in-game cash shop kind of stuff. And then I learned, like, they said they were going to, I was like, nah, there's no way, because they're going to give, they got to pay their employees. They're going to give Steam a cut. Then, like, I was like, it just doesn't math right, you know? I don't know. It just doesn't math right. But yeah, I don't care about referral codes. I never thought, I always assumed that was going to get scrapped anyway. I'd never believed in that. But yeah, TFE was specifically, so the TFE thing I am aware of. I saw somebody talk about that in Discord. Oh yeah, the interview with Narc. There you go. Yes, thank you so much, CTV. Good insight. All right, so that's enough yapping. Are you guys ready to begin the court? So what we're gonna do is, we've all heard Jason's side. We're gonna listen to Steven's side, which I'm sure is in this video. Before we do, let's get off the stand here. You guys, I want to see feedback in chat. I want to see what you guys are thinking as far as, like,
Hi, kitty. You want to sit on my lap? Are you a hungry kitty? We can feed you. Let's feed this hungry kitty. I think it's time, and I'll put something in the microwave as well. I'm sorry, my cat is here to inform me that it is her dinner time. So I will get down for a second, kitty. Nice warm blanket. Time to feed the kitty. You ready? Okay. We're going to feed you, kitty. Feeding time. Dinner time. Okay, let's feed the kitty. I gotta get a bag. Yeah, yes. I know you're stuck inside. You're bored. I'm so sorry, baby. Soon it'll be warm, and another year will go by like a fucking blast, like a shotgun. Like a shotgun blast, and it'll just the boom gone. I like that you're eating. That's good. That's good. That's a good kitty. I'm happy with you. You look like you're doing better. Feeling better, kitty? That's good. I was so worried that you were gonna die. I was like, don't die on me, kitty. Don't die on me, kitty. Oh no. The pipes froze. Damn it. Well, I don't think I really need water. It's a little bit for my hands. There we go. Cat food. Okay, let's feed this kitty. Yeah, you ready, kitty? Yeah, you ready, meow? Alright, let's feed this kitty. There you go, kitty. Oops, drop some water. I should have dumped it. Oh well. We'll get her fresh water. Ooh, that looks good. Okay. They said cut a 2-inch slit in this thing. I actually would cut enough. Punch in 14 minutes. 15 minutes. Go. Okay. Kitty's got food. You say 15. 15. All right, we are all set. Tonight, I'm having something called the world's best macaroni and cheese, and I don't believe them, but we'll see. Oh, what happened here? Did you dump all this in there? No need those. Did you dump them? Did. Oh, it's my stylus. Yeah, my stylus. Oh, there we go. So, alrighty then. I will. Oh, a Republic Signet staff. Oh, cool. It gives you Signet. Yeah, I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that. Fuck yeah. All right, I got rank 10. I totally fucking spaced that. Yeah, I have rank 10 now, huh? Ooh, Republic Akaton. What's that do? Ooh. Chances of attaining crystals and movement speed in Bastock, 12%. Which is cool. I do want this. Buy one. You do not have enough conquest points. How much is this? Oh, 56,000 points. Jesus. Alright. Okay, have these guys left me alone? No, I think they're here looking for me, but I don't really know. You didn't load? Hi, kitty. You want to sit on my lap? Get you some lap, kitty. Mm-hmm. Come warm yourself up on the blanket. Hello, beautiful kitty. I love you. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I need to put this Scroll of Shellrough 4 away, and then I will take a Goblin Ride. Ooh, I can flee at least. Oh, did I buy a... No, I didn't buy what I came for. Oops. Hi, beautiful kitty. I love you. Okay, now you won't play or what? I don't know. Reload. You seem fucked up. Hi, kitty.
And even more importantly, this also had an age verification. This also had an age verification. You needed to click that you were 18 plus to join this channel in the server.
Well, when an individual is in your server, self-admitting over and over and over again to the fact that they're underage, over and over and over again, it's really hard to use the excuse of they clicked the button that said I'm 18 and up. This video is going to be a tough one, not only for the viewer, but for myself, because I'm going to have to be censoring things in a very particular way to make sure that this video doesn't just get deleted off of YouTube. I don't think we need much more of an intro, so I'm just going to jump into it. The person we're talking about today is Nuxtaku. They are quite a large YouTuber. They have a 2 million sub channel, as well as a separate secondary one, Nuxanor, with 930,000 subs, which they post more frequently too. Nux is now known for doing like political commentary stuff, as well as drama commentary stuff himself, but he got a pretty big start on YouTube being the hentai guy. Now, recently, just a few days ago here, content creator Nicandros here ended up posting a video exposing Nuxtaku's EPI Empire Part 1. Now, in this video, he makes some pretty heavy accusations towards Nuxtaku. Number one, alongside Nuxtaku's content creation being centered around hentai, including lolly, Nicandros alleged that Nux was very firmly aware that he had an audience that was very much 18 13 and under, or I should say 13 and up, that Nux went out of his way to give, information in regard to what he was covering, the hentai, things like that, their titles, how to find them, etc., which in turn was enabling access to this content for those children. But additionally, that he catered his content to a younger audience on purpose. And finally, I would say most egregiously, Nicandrus goes into Nux's Patreon Discord server, which you could enter for a single $1. And in there, he finds a 14-year-old kid that was a part of that server that engaged in NSFW content and made it clear multiple times that they were a child to the other people in the server, so much so that the other people in the server engaged with that information. Nux also engaged with that individual so much so that it makes it really hard to argue an idea that Nux didn't know that this was a child on his server. Now, I'm kind of giving a shallow overview on purpose here. I highly recommend that you check out Nicandros's full video if you have the time. I'll leave a link in the description below. But because my video is coming out a bit later after the release of his, I also wanted to include how Nux responded to these allegations and accusations that Nick put forward. His response is really peculiar and genuinely worrying. So with all that, I'm just going to walk you through some of the main points that Nicandrus puts forward, like the ones I just mentioned, and show you guys the evidence that he provides. First things first, Nux did start originally as an anime channel, and then the hentai thing took off, blew up in terms of viewership, and he really ran with it. I want to show how that kind of gets introduced here.
In 2015, he grew slowly and steadily, but in late 2019, everything changed.
I also made a video on YouTube that has since been removed, the biggest flexes in hentai. And the degeneracy began from there.
In the video, Nuxtaku reviews and recommends 10 hentai animations, 7 of which were categorized as lolly, meaning they contained underage characters.
And this bad boy, very not chill stepfather, has a very not chill relationship with stepdaughter. Again, most people would think this is weird, but hentai clearly knows better.
He was already showing adult content to a 13+ audience and giving them advice on how to find adult content
He's
online.
done on my channel
The reason
forever.
why I bring it up here is because without putting text on the screen is nearly impossible to remember. Therefore, since the plot, and it's a goddamn plot, deep thematic and philosophical undertones here, I believe anyone who wanted to search this bad boy up without said title, because I was a douche for not putting it on screen, would just simply look up time stop hentai. Far easier than very understandable. A lot of y'all sent me screenshots on Twitter, link to my Twitter in the description, of the top recommended searches on the hub of prawn. And lo and behold, much to my surprise, WTF fanbase, one of the top hits is time stop hentai.
So not a great start, 7 out of 10 being that lollipop kind of stuff. For those who don't know, that, like Nicandrus said, includes children in a sexually explicit manner. And additionally, I don't even think Nicandrus points this out, but it's very clear that Nuxtaku is very much in touch with the fact that the content that he puts out and the information that he puts out surrounding this hentai content he's covering ends up getting dispersed by his audience. It's very clear. The whole point of that second clip is him talking about the fact that the type of content that he was talking about, this like time stop shit, was showing up as the top search result on this huge prawn site. I think that's important in establishing the fact that he was very much going out of his way to include this information for his viewers to go and seek out if they were interested in it. But additionally, the fact that his fan base was absolutely in droves searching up the content that he was sharing with them. In this series, just to start off, when he started going into this stuff, like he's showing here, millions of views, over 5 million in total with all of them. Nux was also deleting the videos shortly after they were releasing, or I should say privating them, unlisting them, and whatnot, to avoid YouTube, going after them for community guideline issues. Almost like YouTube understands that, when you have an age base of like 13 and up on your platform, that you could run a risk of having content like that being engaged with by that age range.
Because these videos were far more TOS risky than his usual content, Nuxtaku would soon delete them after uploading to avoid moderation consequences.
The greatest plots in hentai too! Yes, this video will be deleted soon after uploading for the sake of my channel's survival, but a promise is a promise.
Furthermore, Nuxtaku gets so popular off of this kind of series of covering hentai on YouTube that he starts collaborating with a bunch of huge YouTubers. People like Moist Critical, for instance, where they're covering stuff and doing like reviews of sorts of this content in videos.
Often involving characters of a questionable age.
There is an asshole door. So it's a woman with her ass out, and this one's like an anal key. and Ash Ketchum is well, at least a young Ash Ketchum seems to be approaching it.
Oh no.
And he uses what's called the fist dash, it seems, to gain entry.
Oh, wow. Is this made for you? Yeah, I think it's gone now. So now he's sprayed her with the spray of doom.
Oh no. She's quivering. Oh my god! What? I didn't experience that!
Nuxtaku also deployed a very aggressive clickbait strategy. Showing some bikini ladies wasn't enough. He needed cropped hentai, bestiality, and lolly.
Now, over the course of my video here, I might be including clips here and there of Nicandros showing some of the other YouTube videos. And if I do choose to include them, you're going to hear the type of content that they were covering in these YouTube videos. And it might make you wonder, same as me or just about anyone that's seeing this, how the fuck was this showing up and okay on YouTube? Like, how did Nux not get blown off the face of the platform immediately when he started rising in popularity? The short answer is I have no fucking clue. It's mind-blowing that Moist Critical as well, who was also very popular at the time still, and all these other big names are covering this stuff and it's getting millions of views, and for some reason nothing is being done about it. Like, you don't have to think very hard to go, okay, we're looking at, you know,
Moist
sex content
Critical
on YouTube. There's always going to be the risk of kids watching it, so you usually want to veer away from that stuff. There's a good reason why it's in policy to, you know, you don't really get to talk about this kind of shit. Furthermore, he's covering lolly, which in my opinion and most others is much worse. I just genuinely don't know. I don't know why nothing was done at this time, or that maybe it wasn't being monitored, or people just kind of accepted it as being okay. Admittedly, I wasn't on that side of the internet. Usually I'm not. I guess I'm a bit more of like a prudish guy, but I don't enjoy absorbing any
I'm not a
content
prude.
in,
I
a
don't think
public
that
setting.
content's
Like,
okay.
even on the Discord for my YouTube here,
And
it's
I am
an
not a
18+
prude.
Discord, but I don't want any NSFW content on it. Number one, I just think it's weird to engage with that content publicly, but number two, there's no definite way that I know for a fact that everyone in the Discord is actually 18 and up. So why would I run the risk of exposing any like kid to that shit? Sorry, it's been a bit of a
Or
tangent.
anybody
I'm
else,
very
'cause
curious
it's
to hear what
sick.
you guys think, if you guys have any theories as to why this kind of went on. But kind of jumping into that, you know, he was also covering lolly stuff. This is his stance on it. Nux has an interesting take when it comes to this content.
Nuxtaku has consistently denied being into it, but he also claims he doesn't believe enjoying it makes you a pedophile.
There are 3 levels here, okay? There's lollies, which I have absolutely nothing against. I don't think anyone has anything against lollies. Okay?
I do.
Like
I do.
Chibidoki or Megumin from Konosuba or
I do.
Kura.
I
Nothing
have
has
something
anything
in it.
against lollies. It's lolly that's the gray zone.
Nuxtaku would begin to signal.
No, you're already
anti-Lolicon
making too many
sentiments in 2022,
differentiations.
causing drama between him and Rev Says Desu.
They couldn't believe the guy who has used lolly-related content in his thumbnails, videos, and the same guy who has openly befriended lolicons, followed and praised lolicons on Twitter, could be making such a statement under glaring hypocrisy.
I don't like Rev, but they are making a sound point. Despite his history, in early 2024, Nuxtaku had no problem calling Vosh a pedophile for flashing his lolly horse folder on stream for a couple seconds. One of the more shocking images in Vosh's folder depicted a lolicon VTuber that Nux had reacted to.
16 is high school. No! Meet Natsuito Matsuri, extremely wholesome VTuber. Also, she likes talking about lollies. Nothing weird here at all. Oh god, this rabbit hole goes deep.
I think at best, that last clip you just saw was an underwhelming reaction to hearing and seeing that someone said, and I quote, "I'm into 10 and 12-year-olds, I agree." Sorry. I don't even really know what to, I feel insane. I know I'm going out on a limb here. Hot take here. I think if you're attracted to minors, drawn or not, there's something wrong. Now, based on this entire video and what Nicandros provides, I'm almost more so leaning on this idea that Nuxtaku isn't into it himself, but I do think that he saw dollar signs and saw the view count go up when he was covering this stuff and calling it crazy and weird. But, you know, when you start including the name, the title, where to find this stuff, and, you know, showing this content on a platform platform where there are a lot of children watching ends up being a real bad look. And on top of that, you're not condemning this kind of content, you're propagating it. I'm going to be saying this probably a lot in this video, but again, I am curious to hear what you guys think. Next up, Nicandrus alleges that Nuxtaku was curating his content, his thumbnails, packaging to appeal towards a younger audience, copying the style of thumbnail of Game Theory, PewDiePie, these other really big channels, which in turn would have pulled in younger audiences from those content creators at the time and pushed them towards his content.
He would imitate the thumbnail style of channels like Game Theory, which is very popular with children, and make lots of other content trying to attract MatPat's attention. He eventually succeeded and collaborated with not just MatPat, but also PewDiePie and Markiplier. Except he didn't. These are just misleading clickbait thumbnails. However, if you were a fan of one of these massive channels with very young audiences, and you were tricked into clicking on one of these videos, your recommendations would fill up with stuff like this.
Now, in my first few watch throughs, I was going to disagree with this point a bit more, because in my head, when you're kind of like, you know, copying the thumbnails of the people around you, given me, for example, shout out more Pegasus, you're doing so because that is what is working in the algorithm. That is what people are interested in clicking on. And the more I thought about that, the more I realized that MatPat and PewDiePie and Markiplier had successful thumbnails, or let's just talk about Game Theory in general. They were successful. I was clicking on them, but I was also a kid. Matter of fact, most of my friends enjoying any of the content from these creators that he has brought up, that he was also, you know, pretending to collab with and stuff, I was watching all of them as a kid growing up. So as much as I just want to say, well, he was also copying these things to maybe just be more successful in the algorithm, at the same time, I have that bias of, well, I watched them. That's why I knew that they were successful in the algorithm. Moreover, different thumbnail styles and different, you know, content styles are more successful in different parts of YouTube based on the audience that you're going for. In which case, I think Nicandrus is making a pretty good point here. Now, he makes a lot of good points in this section about how it's appealing to a young audience, but I want to focus on this point that he brings up directly in regard to a TikTok trend with this Animal Crossing like thing that was made.
The most popular video on his second channel was a reaction to a viral Animal Crossing adult animation with very minimal censorship. There are small blurs around the genital areas, but you could still make out what's going on. What implication? And what's funny about it? When this animation came out, it became a viral meme, and a bunch of kids on TikTok were, as Nuxtaku says, doing the things or doing the dance. In other words, publishing media of themselves for anyone in the world to see, in which they are replicating moves from an adult animation they had been exposed to. Very understandably, some people considered this to be a risk to those children's safety.
This is currently the most concerning trend on TikTok.
Is it really the most concerning trend on TikTok? There's literally a trend right now called devious licks, where people break into schools or are in schools and steal stuff like hand sanitizer and fire alarms and toilet seats. They just rip them off the toilets. That is a trend on TikTok right now. But no, this is the most disturbing trend on TikTok. All right, dude.
Gonna keep it a buck with you. I don't know how you get defensive and push back on someone saying, hey, it's pretty unsettling and probably really bad to have a bunch of children mimicking a prawn dance. I'm struggling to see how you can justify being defensive about that.
He's regularly uploading content sexualizing children's cartoon characters onto a 13+ platform. Characters designed to appeal to children and more likely to be recommended to children. If you look at this video's comments, you see dozens of children.
You see the horses attract
reporting their
attention,
ages,
so
many of them being under 13.
I mean, I still walked with
These are
50
not
gold, I
adults
don't
pretending
care.
to be children as a joke. I've seen what's on their channels. They are uploading videos of themselves onto their channels and then leaving public comments under Nuxtaku's videos for anyone in the world to see.
Now, this I think is one of the more concrete things that Nicandrus points out, which is that there is a plethora of, in not even having to use the Wayback Machine, but of people saying, hi, I'm a 10-year-old watching this. Hi, I am a literal child watching this content. And in my head, I'm very curious where you go about justifying creating content like this on a platform where there are kids at the bare minimum self-admitting that, hey, they are children watching this content. How do you justify making content when you know that that's happening? And if that isn't the case, if you don't know, How would Nux, as the content creator of this stuff, with what we're seeing comments of children saying that they're seeing this, and he just pulled up a few, how do you not know? It comes off to me as almost an intentional ignorance to this fact, or as an intentional pushing it out of the mind and ignoring that aspect of it to just focus on, well, I'm making this and I'm an adult and I'm only making this with the express intent of only sharing this around with adults. But that still to me is such a hard sell.
Thousands of comments like this scattered all over Nuxtaku's backlog, some new, some old, but many of them are from children who are still minors. If you look at the audience retention graph, you can see that barely anyone is watching this video for Nuxtaku's commentary. All of the attention is hyper-focused on the segment where the adult animation is shown. Who do you think is watching it over and over again? Any adult could just go and watch the uncensored animation elsewhere. However, to the children who cannot access adult websites, this is the most easily available and the least censored version of the animation that they can find. Here is a comment from a child saying that they can't access the uncensored animation because of parental controls.
Now, this is speculative work, but for Nicandros's credit, I can't really think of another reason. Like, yeah, that is the sexual part, and you are left to wonder, well, adults, they know where to find this kind of stuff. In all likelihood, you'd just be jumping on Twitter. Hell, you might not even have to search and it would fucking come up. But for kids, yeah, if they somehow have access to this kind of content, it's barely blurred, like Nicandros is pointing out and whatnot, why wouldn't they just be engaging with these videos and just running it back on these little pieces of clips that they're getting to see through his content? Curious to hear if you guys have any other thoughts or like point of views as to why else that retention graph could be like that. Now, to kind of hammer this nail on the head, Nicandros also shows a couple of reasons that he believes that Nux fully knew that there were children watching, specifically at the bare minimum 13 and up, and shows multiple different ways how he recognizes this in his own content. First off, he has a disclaimer in these videos at the time saying this video and my entire channel is rated PG-13 and should not be viewed by anyone under the age of 13 without direct
I didn't lose money.
consent. That doesn't come with
And
the
anyway,
description.
I lost
would
a
know
horse, which
he
was free.
wrote that himself,
You know,
or
cheap,
someone
I don't
on
know.
his team wrote it.
5G.
He has a team working with him. For me, that's fucking crazy.
I didn't lose
Next
anything.
example, Nux, while in a video with other people,
I made
he
out
asked
with,
for, fans to send
I don't know, we could go
videos
get the
in.
money right
He had a
now.
fan,
It's
a
probably
child fan
40
that sent him a
gold.
video of
I don't think I
themselves.
lost.
Despite requesting NSFW content, the announcement does not list a minimum age. So Nuxtaku was giving a financial incentive to minors to find the worst NSFW content they could. He would review these submissions a month later in a video with Oompaville and Iron Mouse.
I've never even pondered the thought that we could have Lolly and Guro and Bondage all in one thing. That's amazing.
Oh my god.
Among those submissions was a video that one of Nuxtaku's child fans had recorded of themselves.
Oh, what?
Bro.
I don't even
Hi,
know
kitty.
what that
You're
was.
back.
That was some kid just sent you a video of them shitting and then shooting a dog with a Nerf gun.
It's not CSAM. It's some little boy farting into their phone camera. Then they shoot at their dog with a Nerf gun. There's no nudity, and you can't even see their face. However, they are clearly a child, and based on the size of their hand, a very young one at that.
Now, there's going to be a bit more of Nux engaging with content where you would have to just be scratching your head wondering about how you wouldn't stop to think that, hey, maybe this is a child. For example, he was reading off a Reddit post from his subreddit that was completely unmoderated, and I'll just let the clip go.
Please forgive me. Stop sending Gentai. Why? I already lost No Nut November. Half of my class saw Aqua's butthole on my screen. To be fair, mad respect for sending Aqua's butthole. And your class should be thankful.
The OP of this post was 12 years old. They are literally talking about a class in that post. There is no reason not to assume they might be a minor. And had Nuxtaku checked their profile when the screenshot was taken, he would have seen this comment. This child was not a one-time poster. Between October 2019 and August 2020, they made 160 posts to the Reddit.
I guess because it was unmoderated, he might not have seen that comment, although it's still a stretch. And 146 posts from a single 11 to 12-year-old child is horrific. Again, and I'm just going to keep repeating this, I guess, I don't understand how you make content like this and don't expect that this is a possibility, that kids are going to engage with the content, and you don't take any steps to prevent this. He made a subreddit dedicated to sharing this kind of content and talking about hentai and shit, and he had it unmoderated. There are kids literally commenting that they are 10, 11, 12, in this Reddit, and nothing's being done. Like, I don't even know how it doesn't cross your mind. Now, there is so much that I am glossing over that, again, I encourage, if you're thinking, maybe this is a bit shaky, you should go and watch this full video. But I want to show you guys towards the end here this private Discord, this Patreon only Discord server that was dirt cheap to get into. That was so cheap to get into that a 14-year-old was able to enter it. And this 14-year-old, I wouldn't say sexually, but was absolutely groomed by the adults around them and the other people a part of this Discord. I'm going to show you guys some of those clips leading into, recognizing this person's name is Red. That's how Nick Andrews addresses them in these. But I want to show first a clip that Nick Andrews found in regard to Nuxtaku and his stance about, children on Discord, young age, and like content creator Discords, things like that. Just really sets a good stage here.
The biggest shock to me to this day entering the broader commentary sphere was the dangers lurking around every corner in regards to children. Children are not safe on the internet. I only became chronically online after high school, but I couldn't imagine what it would do to me if I was in some YouTuber's Discord server at the age of 12 or 14.
You couldn't imagine. You don't need to. Red joined the server on September 7th. On day 1, they openly declared themselves to be 14 years old. They would later claim to be 15 multiple times, but as they openly stated, they were lying about their age. Red was born in 2004. They had turned 14 soon before they joined the server. The Discord was a pretty small clique, and soon enough, basically everyone on the server knew that Red was underage. Despite this, Nuxtaku made the NSFW channel for them a month later, and within a year, they had posted 242 messages on the channel. There's also an instance where another user pinged Red into the NSFW channel. As far as I can tell, this behavior was not punished.
Now, Nick Andrews had actually reached out to me, and we ended up going through some of these Discord logs where he literally just pulled them up from the server. He didn't have to archive these messages or anything. He could just search them up and find them and show me what he was talking about. If you guys can think back to the Ava Chris Tyson allegations, which Nick Andrews kind of touches on in this video, when we were dealing with, having to put our brains together and look at, the density of messages and these kids saying what their ages were during the Ava Chris stuff, we were looking at that and going, well, it was close enough to these kids saying, what their ages are and them engaging with this material that Ava Chris Tyson more likely than not must have known. If you compare, like the density of messages and these people interacting with like Ava Chris Tyson or Jimmy at the time, it is much worse. It is like magnitudes worse with this Nuxtaku server. It's a much smaller group because you did have to pay, albeit like $1 or $2. It's a much smaller group, and pretty much everyone in that Discord seems to recognize and address Red as a child, making jokes about it, commenting about it, and shortly after they're talking about Red or talking about their age or anything like this, Nuxtaku is showing up. Nick Andrews in his video further shows that they were in Discord calls together. It gets to a point where it is very, very difficult to give Nux benefit of the doubt that he just didn't know what was going on. But even if you were to, further than that, which I would say is the best case scenario, this is one of the most egregious lapses in moderation and using your basic thinking skills that ends up resulting in a child having like truly a traumatic experience by being a part of this Discord in the same way that Nux was just talking about in that earlier clip. And I'm not just saying that, I'm going to show you later on what Nick ends up pointing out after talking with Red. Before I do, I just want to show you a few more examples that Nick Andrews had brought up, showing these people interacting with this person, knowing their age, but also the type of content that these people were showing this child.
But did Nuxtaku know that Red was underage? There is no message of Nux acknowledging Red's age. However, it is extremely unlikely that he didn't know. In this conversation from earlier, where Red says they're lying about their age, Nuxtaku shows up soon afterwards. In this conversation, there's some kind of an ERP going on in the general chat, which is interrupted by Red. Red is told not to get involved because they're underage. After Red says the conversation is making them gag, another user jokes, "Oh no, we better stop if we are gagging a minor." Red pinged Nuxtaku soon afterwards, but Nux didn't show up. This is Mintheus Mouselord, or Mitochondria, or Mito. According to Nuxtaku, they were the best poster on the NSFW channel. In this conversation about BDSM, we can see Red asking Mito to send their presentation.
See, I tried to warn Begon. He was like, I like Nuxtaku, and I was like, yep, doesn't surprise me. It's weird. Indie Fallout reminds me of the good old days. Here's Kira from an hour ago. That's cool. Indie Fallout. Yeah, the like Crimson Desert might be a new MMO.
On sex toys to other users. Note, I just made the presentation because Red was clueless. After Beck's
too much dark
okay, well, friend knows, welcome back. There's been a whole bunch of new information about High Guard, and I think honestly there's some really interesting points to talk about with this. The first real huge piece of news that's going to play a massive factor in talking about High Guard going forward is from this report from Stefan Totilo. Steven, I don't know how to pronounce the name. Sorry about that. I will link this in the video description. Sources: Tencent secretly funded struggling shooter High Guard. Wildlight Entertainment has said for years it was, quote, fully funded but not shared details. Now, this for me is an incredibly interesting piece of information, and I'll go over in a little bit why. So, the first big drama with High Guard that happened a couple days ago was that the website went down. And realistically, this is not a huge deal, but obviously in context, everyone thought this was like, okay, boom, game's dead. Like the game's just going to go offline tomorrow or something because it's so cheap to maintain a website. It's so easy to maintain a website. Why would the website have gone down? Following on the context of the game releases, it's clearly not ready for release, so something's gone wrong. The player population is going down, down, down every single day without failure. No update that they released has changed this. And then 2 weeks after release, they fired the majority of their staff. All of these things in a row, and then their website goes down and people were immediately like, yep, game's dead. Obviously, there's additional context, such as some higher-ups of the studio said things along the lines of, oh, we don't need a large player base. And then a week later, they fire most of the staff, signaling that, in fact, they did need a large player base. As well as, if people need to keep saying, our game's not dead, the game's probably dead, right? I think most people can agree on this. But the staff did come out on the Discord and say, not sure on the time frame, but basically needs to be transferred and simplified. This is referencing the website being down. And then they said, low priority at the moment, reputational damage already done. Now we just need to focus on delivering updates and content to improve. And they did, right? But this is already a damning indictment when somebody internal to the studio is saying, it doesn't even matter what we do at this stage. The reputation damage is done, and us, you know, getting the website up quicker makes no difference. People have already seen this. They already think this is like, you know.
I'm in the mood to cancel devs, so now all of the fucking YouTube is in the mood to cancel devs. They've been listening to me call them cocksuckers and watch them fuck me, and I swear to God, the devs are they're getting fucked with. It's hard for them to even not face getting canceled, basically.
You know, a bad thing. So it doesn't even matter, which goes to show.
Remember how mad I was about the
but then they do say
the Shadow of the Redfall,
delivering updates, etc., making the game better.
It was like the Elden Ring DLC combined with Starfield's first launch and Redfall. All terrible abortions of games at first. I wouldn't say Starfield was, but all the rest of them were. And I liked Starfield even when it first started, but it wasn't playable when it first started. I lost the 60-hour playthrough, and I knew it wasn't playable for a while.
And they did. They released an update yesterday, Feb 19th, new base and new raid tool.
Since then, I've been yelling about the devs because they fuck us. This is like the best mac and cheese I've ever had.
This is, you know, I'll refresh it just to make sure we're not looking at bad numbers. But the game's actual player peak actually went down for the same time period with the new update. Same weekdays, you know, this is not a weekend versus weekday thing. The game's population, despite new releases and new updates, is going down still. There aren't even people thinking, oh, a new update, I'll check the game out again. They're just straight up not... They're quitting still. No new players are coming in.
It was so quiet.
You know, at that stage, what do you even say? The game's just fucked, right? Because Again, nobody wants to play a game
Less than 1,000
where
players.
they think the game is going to die. It's the snowball rolling down the hill. Once it gets to a certain size, you need like a monumental, immediate, like flick a switch. Here's
No
a
Man's
huge
Skies.
update. Here's a huge game changer. Loads of people come back in and hope you ride the momentum. If you don't have that, releasing incremental updates is basically like putting a bandage on a fucking amputation, right? It doesn't do anything. So the entire time this game has been known to the public, they've been in a state of constant corporate triage, trying to basically save the game. And the first big hurdle would have been when they discovered we have run out of money, or basically we're about to run out of money. And we basically have two choices here: get more money or
Pay
release
people
the
or
game
don't
in
pay
a
people.
obviously unfinished state. This game was not ready to release. Like, I don't think anybody's going to argue with that. I don't think people internal at the company thought that, okay, now the game's 1.0 ready, let's release it on Steam on this date. That was done as a matter of, if we don't release now, we're just going to go bankrupt without ever releasing a product. So the choices are: go back to the investors.
I have some sympathy
and say,
for this.
you know, with the begging bowl, and say, can we have more money, or release the game. And the reason I say that this game was dead before it released is because they absolutely will have gone back to the investors, and the investors would have looked at what the game is, looked at what they've already given them, did a cost analysis of, do we think this game, if we give it more money, is going to become financially viable and successful to the point where we'll make our money back? Or do we just write it off as like, okay, it's a bad investment and just move on with our life? And that seemingly is what has happened here, because obviously we all know the games industry is not being invested in by companies at this stage. We've seen this time and time again. Dozens, maybe even hundreds of studios at this point, between 2018, maybe a little bit earlier, maybe a little bit later, to now, have been created and been funded. Private equity, venture capitalists, Tencent, you know, these big companies, big publishers, Riot Games, things of this nature, and they've stopped being funded. New studios have stopped being opened with this investment. It's just the time of the money spigot for, oh, we worked on this game, now we're going to make another similar game, has completely dried up, and it's been dried up for a while. Anything that was already in development and still had some of the money could still be on the horizon, but a lot of them have closed without even releasing a game, or they've been forced to release something very quickly that has abjectly failed. There are fucking dozens, hundreds of examples of this exact thing happening. So it's very clear that the fact that they were fully funded by companies like Tencent, but they released in this state with so little runway remaining, means that they absolutely knew this game was not ready. They just couldn't get more money. So it was a choice of, do we release the game and it potentially fails, or do we not release the game and it absolutely fails? Which goes to show that High God was yet again another studio that raised capital based on this idea that they were, you know, capable of releasing the next big thing, the next game that excited investors at a time when they were handing out a bunch of money, but obviously have completely failed in doing so. It would also be interesting, and I'd love to know, I don't think we ever will, but I'd love to know if the idea of releasing the world premiere trailer at the Game Awards was maybe to try and see if they got like a huge amount of interest, that they could have asked these investors and said, look, see how many people are excited for the game, maybe you want to reconsider and give us some more money so we can get it to a definite 1.0 and make the game as good as it can be. And then of course the actual reaction to the trailer was so monumentally bad that it really backfired, because obviously the game in that trailer was given a release date, but you can always delay a game. That would make the Game Awards trailer make a lot more sense, and why exactly they did that, and why they seemingly didn't even have a well-prepared trailer that showed what the game was going to be. It really does make me wonder whether or not they had already by that point asked for investment, or maybe they were going to use the trailer announcement as a jumping off point to say, look guys, we have run out of money, but if you give us more, look at how many people are into the game. This definitely still could be a big thing. And I think we really have to start looking at some of these things where the studio have said, essentially, you know, we're an indie studio, we're not making this game because a corporate overlord told us to. We're not owned by any of these big publishers or anything like this. We decided we wanted to make this game. And in a way, they're not wrong, right? But the only reason they got funded is probably because some investors, Tencent in this example, maybe some other companies, saw a proposition of like, oh, these people worked on this kind of game previously, and they're going to make their own version of this kind of game. So because they already have that tenure, that expertise, let's fund them, and maybe this version of the game that they make can compete with this already commercially viable product that makes a bunch of money. That's how they get the funding. So you're faced already immediately with the conundrum of maybe all these employees that worked at this company wouldn't have had this job, and they wouldn't have been able to be paid for these many years on trying to make something successful if it wasn't for the fact that the studio decided to make something in a really competitive environment where they would have to make something that was like really great, right? That would stand amongst these peers.
You know, not even
draw an audience from those already successful products. Otherwise,
not even Arc Raiders, which is one of the most successful right now in the West, anyways, is even that groundbreaking.
Nobody would have given them money in the first place. They couldn't have said, oh, let's make this thing we don't have a ton of success making, because nobody would have given them any money. So they went to where the money was, they got the money, they decided to try and make this thing that had a built-in expectation from day one of being a massive commercial success, and then publicly told people we don't need to be a big commercial success, we don't need a ton of players. But obviously the quality of the product was something that even the investors disagreed with being worth giving more money, throwing more good money after bad. And instead what you're left with is just another live service failure from people who raised money on this expectation and couldn't deliver. And obviously what you've got is an industry where you've got articles like this. 1/3 of US video game industry workers were laid off over the last 2 years. And these layoffs have been happening for like 4 or 5 years at this stage. Based on surveys from early 2026, approximately 48% of games industry professionals who were laid off in previous 2 years are still seeking re-employment within the industry.
Oh,
so
no.
not only is
The
outside
devs did get
investment not
fucked.
coming into the games industry, but everyone that's laid off from one of these companies, from any of these
See,
companies,
I called for this,
there's no
and I
new
should have
jobs.
been more
Nobody's-
careful. I called for this problem to happen. I was like, the devs have been fucking us. It's time for their reckoning. And they do need a reckoning, but I didn't want it ever to be this bad. I didn't want, like normal developers being hurt. I'm talking about the big ones.
Tiring because no more money's coming in. If it wasn't for the fact that every year we get more and more competitive games in terms of quality, and indie games have leveled up so much, and you're getting things like Expedition 33 releasing just amazing games almost weekly at this stage, you could look at these numbers and be like, wow, the games industry's fucked. But I think if you look at everything that happened with High Guard under the lens of Tencent being the primary investor, and that they didn't even want to give the company any more money to try to finish this thing. At least that's my speculation anyway. It makes sense, right? You know, if they'd already funded a bunch of money into the game, if the game looked amazing and they were really sold that this thing was going to be a smash hit, they probably would have given them enough money to, you know, get the game to an actual better stage. It seems like no matter what High Guard did, by the time we even heard of this game's existence, the writing was on the wall and the game was fucked.
Yeah,
at least
that's
from
not
my
good.
read
That's
on
not
this,
fair
which could be completely wrong. Which just goes to show that when you saw those...
No, I just don't want extraction anymore. My thing was, and I'll say this...
interviews and people talking about the internal playtests of the game and what people were saying, where all the quotes were like, oh, this is definitely going to be a smash hit. This is going to be the next big thing. Just really how out of touch everything was regarding this game from day one. And again, I don't subscribe to the opinion that this is the toxic gamer culture that made this game fail, because it seems to me like it wasn't just the toxic gamers that didn't think this was going to be successful, but potentially even the investors and everybody who actually played the game and tried to enjoy the game, because those people are not.
You know, I turned off the Skill Up channel. I would have to go back and look for it, because they won't ever recommend it to me again. And I used to watch a lot of Skill Up, because I was like, looking for new games, looking for new games, looking for new games. He did, the last big review he did was Ghost of Yotai. There's no way. Let's look at the channel. Yeah, he's busy now, huh? Yeah, he's still going. He did a review of Cairn, Mugenics, R.I.P. Highguard. Austin isn't quite sure what to make of Romeo is a dead man. I can't believe I actually like Pokemon Pokepia. It's a Pokemon game. Horizon Hunter's Gathering revealed, plus Ashes of Creation drama and all that. And Ashes of Creation collapses and all this. And yeah, he is still doing his whole corpo thing. He did a review of The Altars. I like Skill Up, but he corpo shilled me into so many games like Remnant 2 and oh god, like BG3 and all this stuff that like made my taste seem more commercial than it was. And now I don't really agree with his modern corpo look on gaming. I'm not really like him. And so I took him off my channel. Now I feel rude doing that because I used them for like 5 years, but I think it's okay to move on from creators after like 5 years. I actually don't think that's that bad. It's like, oh, I really did support this guy for like 5 years and kept him in the water and all this stuff, you know, so I don't feel that bad. What does he mean by Horizons Hunter's Gatherer or something like that? Let's go see what that is. And I haven't watched the Skill Up in a while, so let's just see if he's the same. The other problem with it is it's the most formulary content that I can think of, formularic, I don't know. Formularic content that I can think of on YouTube, and I don't like the cookie cutter paste style he has. Yeah, are we... Oh, no, I warped into a site, did I? Yeah. Damn, so that macaroni and cheese, it was like the best macaroni and cheese I've ever had. It was so good. You can't load this, or what? You just can't load the video, or you're not playing it, or what? Shall we
want to reclaim your personal data, protecting you
from
from identity theft?
The first thing is like an ad. It's not even like he starts talking about content yet. He's just like, here's your first ad. It gives you like a fucking slice of an ad.
Cogni and get a 60% discount on an annual subscription when you use offer code SkillUp at cogni.com/skillup. Click below to get started, or stick around to the end of the video to learn more.
Now, this
Gamers,
video got...
we have so much
242,000 views. It's like so many people watch.
To cover this week that we barely have time to make fun of Overwatch 2 for dropping the 2. We could spend like 800 words just on dunks for that. But to be fair, Blizzard have put a lot of work into rebuilding the confidence in that game after the disastrous launch of Overwatch 2.
No, they haven't. It's the same game it was at Overwatch 2 launch. What have they done? Well, I guess they've added some characters. Yeah, they've added a bunch of characters, and I would say that one of the big complaints was actually solved. Oops. Now, you are going to get me killed doing that. Don't do it. Don't do that. Don't do that. Give me control of my character. Stop this. Don't do this. I don't want to die. No, I want to control my character. You're not letting me control my character. What is it? Did you take my shit off the screen? I can't tell. I don't have my mouse. I can't alt-tab. Oh, this keyboard. It drives me insane. There. Now, what... I mean, the Alchemist will drop the Cure 6, you know, or whatever, Cure 5.
And this news has been met with a fair amount of optimism, especially given that it was coupled with the announcement that 5 new heroes would be joining the game next week. I can't believe I'm going to say this, but I'm feeling the urge to reinstall Overwatch 2. You know, when you start thinking that, it means one of two things. Either Overwatch's marketing has peaked, or you've hit rock bottom. But I think it's probably a mix of both. If you're looking for a different live service fix, then perhaps you might be interested in Horizon Hunters Gathering, which was just revealed by Sony. Look, before I go on, I think I should just show you some of the trailers, so roll us due.
All across the land, people are dying. That's why our leader gave me this
Oh my god, it's Aloy?
command. We have to fight back. And to do that, we need a team.
You know, Horizon has a good vibe. I like Horizon. I think it's a great little game. Makes me want to play Horizon Forbidden West, because that's a good game. I played a lot of Horizon Forbidden West. I played it like a sandbox because it is a sandbox and it's a good one. It's long.
Okay, so where to begin? Well, firstly, this is being made by Guerrilla Games, so that's important because you might recall that there's another multiplayer Horizon game on the way called Horizon Still Frontiers, only that one is being developed by NCSoft, and it's exclusive to PC and mobile. Sony really did greenlight a Horizon game that isn't playable by the very audience who made that franchise what it is today. Utterly baffling. So anyway, PS5 owners can't play that, but they can play this. Horizon Hunters Gathering. Not sure about that title, but I also think we've got other things to focus on. So many have looked at this and said, hey, it's Monster Hunter in the Horizon universe, but that's not quite accurate. Horizon Still Frontiers appears to be that Monster Hunter experience. This seems to be closer to something like Elden Ring Night Rain. For starters, you cannot create your own character, you have to select a specific hero. More heroes will be added to the game over time. They have set weapons and activatable abilities. Each hunt is a run that consists of multiple boss enemies, and there's discrete progression.
Nope, and that's enough. That's all I need to hear. I'm good. I don't need another Dauntless.
No longer playing and aren't returning despite there being updates. But yeah, I think that's about it. I don't think there'll be any
games that I
more
want to play.
huge updates
It's
regarding
the honest to God truth. It's the takeaway for the devs. They aren't games that I want to play. I don't think Highguard is a game I want to play. I don't need another Fortnite. I already have I already have a honest to God Fortnite addiction that's gone to like 1,000 wins. I don't need another Fortnite. It's like I'm not that audience. It's not my fault that I'm not that audience either. I'm not that audience. Yeah, you know, like, I don't actually have to fight. I don't have to, like, risk myself here, but I think I would like to steal because there's money in it. Yeah, I don't have to fight. I should familiar this guy because I've had him a while. That did no damage to me somehow. I don't know why. No damage whatsoever. It's like I'm not here. And he's out because he bombed. There's regen 3. I mean, regen 3 is not a bad scroll that I probably need. Maybe. No, maybe I have regen 2 or 3. No, I get that next level. That's good. That's a good scroll to get. I should go mail it. So I can get it again, I guess? Yeah, I should go mail this, which is so annoying. But I mean, hey, I came up on loot. And that's good. You know, I'm going to lose the sheep, but oh well, I came up on loot. It's actually good. I came up on loot I needed. So, this one we're going to mail to ourselves, which is kind of annoying. Because if it can't drop again. If it drops again, it gets thrown away because you already have a rare X, like a BOP scroll basically. And so I can't get another regen 3 scroll or like a Shelra scroll if I put them away. So I actually now have to go get my Shelra and my Regen 3 scroll and like mail them to my alt or no, mail them to myself and keep mailing them to myself when I need to use my D-box, because it's like I can't afford to not get those scrolls. They're sometimes worth like 10 to 30k, and that's just too much money to pass up like that, you know, if I'm doing the work anyways.
Just a foregone conclusion at this.
So then I lose like 10 minutes to going back to town, which is so annoying. Old retro rules piss me off. I don't really particularly like them. Heated throw back on here. There we go. My God, that mac and cheese is, you know, it's crazy to see a product brag the best macaroni cheese in the world. And then actually do it, like, because it's like fucking really genuinely good. I wonder, oh, what's that sound? Oh no, it's a Lundo. Oh, pressure issue. Okay, well, approach and fire. I'm dead, huh? That's okay. The Thrasher is just better than me or whatever. Londo Tian, huh? Oh well, kill my thingy. That's fine, I made this thing. Yeah, it's kind of a good fight. Yeah, I got him through the structure. Nice. Good fight. Good fight. Yeah, well, oh, I didn't attack you. I didn't even look at him. Okay, I guess I'll grab another Tristan to come out there. Okay, made so much money today. I'm doing so good. I don't care about a fucking ship loss. I don't. I made so much money today. I'm doing good. Alright, back out there in a Tristan. Okay, we insured. I want to go back, right back out there to that system. Though, I want to be next door, maybe. We'll see. Oops. This guy was nice. I'm going to add contact, blue. And I'll send notification. Yep. Yeah. And ooh, 3,000 LP. I mean, I made money. Honestly, I'm good. You know, I'm fine. Yeah. So now I didn't make money, but I mean, like, yeah, I made money with that. I did. I made money with that ship. I made more than I lost. I'm fairly sure. So now I am going out to mail scrolls to myself to get around BOP's scroll bullshit.
Autopilot engaged. Autopilot disabled. Autopilot
laggy.
engaged.
Go get me back out there. Okay, 16 jumps
Warping
back
to
the fuck out
Stargate.
there.
Warp
You have
drive active.
yep, shorter, yeah. Okay, here we go. This guy dropped a scroll of regen 3, which is really good. I need to mail that along with my Shelra 4 scroll. Now,
Approaching Stargate.
Shelra 4. Shelra 4. Regen 3, Shelra 4.
Autopilot jumping.
Yeah, and then we mail those to myself, and then in that way they will drop again. Oh, I have to go loot. So annoying. See, it's all just busy work
Warping to
distraction. It's
Stargate.
so annoying.
Warp
But
drive
I will go loot. I don't
active.
care. It's not that annoying.
Stage. But there we go. Thanks for watching as
There
always.
we go.
So-
Yep, Death of Highguard. Jesus fucking Christ. There goes that. Indie Fallout reminds me of the good old
I need
days.
another ration already. Is that a bomb?
Yeah, and you're standing
hey,
on it.
I'm always, and by always I mean sporadically, streaming
Standing
over
on
Twitch
bombs.
for those of you that didn't know. And I've got a Patreon for exclusive content if you'd like to help support the channels. Anyways, back to the... Oh, screen's resolution's all bugged. How's it bugged? I literally played this last month. We're living in 2026. How are we still dealing with broken resolution in games?
Pioneer, right?
Hey,
Yeah,
are we
it's
good?
a little mill
Search the
simmy.
robot. Steel scrap.
Reminds
Oh my
me
gosh, that is
of
painful. Oh, there's some
Autopilot
legendary
jumping.
loot. And by legendary, I mean probably incredibly common. I can read this? They'll have... Ah! Get.
Warping to Stargate.
Shit.
Warp drive
I mean, it
Oh,
looks good enough.
Oh, okay, we got feisty. Get over here. I know that you're mortal. Get over here. DQ out. Give me a monster loot. We got Sprinter Salad, a med kit. Oh, what is this? Nothing, absolutely nothing in that giant crate. Dude, one day I will find ammo for my gun and be able to complete the quest.
One of those, huh?
RGO hand grenade, pick them all up, dude. Take them all. I'm so sorry. Oh my gosh. Holy frick, these guys are not easy. Yes, I know, I'm hurt.
It's another Tarkov Milsim looking game. It looks good enough, but it looks like really rough, like early access.
Game. I know. All I have is a pair of jeans, okay? Ugh. Nope. As long as they don't hit you.
Patrolling Indie Fallout makes you wish Bethesda would release those damn
Warping to
remasters already.
Stargate.
Oh my god.
Warp drive active.
This was not the right ability. Damn it. And I want to go out of it. Yeah, I guess we go back in, huh? No, I have to go loot this thing. I guess I could have mailed to
Approaching
myself, but
Stargate.
no, I couldn't have because all my send boxes are blocked. Stupid mail system from PlayStation 2. They should have fixed it way back then.
Autopilot jumping.
Gold beast coins. There we go. Okay, I looted my box. Getting back in the Final Fantasy saddle.
Warping to Stargate. Warp drive active.
It's not good enough.
Okay, fam, I think they may actually be doing it. I didn't think they could. I thought it looked too good to be true. There had to be some catch, but I think that Crimson Desert actually just is like totally insane and crazy. I think it actually
is good.
Is gonna be the game. Like it's blowing my mind. Let me show you. In case you missed it, over the last couple of weeks since the last time we talked about Crimson Desert, there's been a few deep dives. These are what they call feature overview videos, where they've shared deep dive looks into certain aspects of the game, trying to answer specific questions from the community. Specifically questions about like the story. People were wondering if there's any depth to the combat and customization. People wondering how like you're actually going to spend your time exploring the open world, stuff like that. But real quick before I get too into this and super lightheaded, thank you to our sponsor. Ludio is a cutting-edge gaming technology company that allows developers and creators to share small moments of gameplay directly with players. We've all been in that position where we're wondering if a game is worth playing or not, and we wish we could just try it without having to download 100 gigs or worry about a return policy. Well, Ludio fixes that. You see, with Ludio, you're able to share playable moments, is what they call them. You load them in your browser, you just click play, and then it counts down and you load straight into the game, able to play it yourself without having to download a thing. Dude, it's so instantaneous. I didn't even like realize I was just popping straight in. I was like, oh, we're starting. Where to go? Where to go?
What game is this?
Got him. And pop, 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 pop. How nice is that? Oh, I love destructible environments. And this allows for players to actually try games before they bother committing to it, either by buying it or downloading the whole thing and dealing with all of that headache. It also allows you to share funny, unique moments. A great example. Okay, with that said, back to it. The first of these overviews was called Cliff and the Open World of Pywell. And it basically went through a rough outline of what you're going to experience with the story and what's going to motivate your action and your adventure throughout the campaign. They also revealed a couple of other insane things, like this.
How's the situation?
Just
wait.
wait.
But as his tale unfolds, 2 new playable characters will come to join your journey. As these characters become available, you will be able to freely explore Pywell and undertake many quests outside the main story with them.
What? What? There's what? There's 2 more playable
Each
characters?
character has their own combat style, as well as unique skills
Approaching
and
Stargate.
weapons, allowing you to experience the world and its battles
She popped
in
the
different
cap.
ways.
Oh, that looks good.
Like, I'm not joking, dude. They just have 2 more playable characters.
Jumping.
To be clear, I did ask Will Powers about this. If you don't know, Will is the head of marketing for Pearl Abyss with Crimson Desert, and I've had him on stream. I talked to him for a full hour there. I interviewed him back in December for the New Games Plus showcase, which is where the news broke that this game's map is bigger than Red Dead Redemption 2's. But when I asked him about the playable characters specifically, he wanted to stress that they are not additional protagonists, but specifically additional playable characters.
Again, level setting expectations. Not protagonists, playable characters.
Playable characters.
There is
okay.
one central protagonist. You are Cliff. You're your version of Cliff through your skill sets. Like there are ways that you can do light RPing, like in terms of how you progress and make Cliff your own. But central protagonist is Cliff. And then through the main storyline, these 2 additional playable characters will be unlocked that you could
It's
freely
a single player
go
game.
between, explore the open world, do non-main storyline quests with.
And when you listen back to how this was phrased, they did describe how you're going to be able to do additional side content with them outside of the main story. Meaning the main story will still be Cliff, but side quests and maybe some boss fights and stuff are going to be playable with these additional playable characters, basically offering you a different combat style if you want to shake it up when you're
I want an
grinding
MMO.
out
I don't want
combat
this.
challenges or something. So that's absolutely crazy. They showed some other stuff like some basic side questing that you're going to be doing, and they explained how they want you to do side activities and missions for everyday NPCs, then also maybe some lords and a duchess or two, you know, people in positions of power and influence, so that you...
It's not good enough.
Approaching Stargate. Autopilot jumping.
Ugh.
Warping to Stargate. Warp drive active.
I'll put my headphones on.
Approaching Stargate.
Kind of miss not wearing headphones. But I'm sure the sound quality is way worse. Come on, right.
Jeffrey Epstein, the name on everybody's lips, and apparently in the inbox of scores of politicians, celebrities, and business tycoons. Nearly 7 years after the man was found dead in his prison cell, we're still peeling back the onion layers of his vast and complex operation. The Epstein files have been dripping out for months now and represent a vast amount of information about the man, his associates, and how his operation was able to run with such relative smoothness for so long. This was a man whose depravity will mark him as one of those notorious figures in history. Sex crimes against children, a dangerous thirst for power, and a darkness that's already engulfed countless lives. So, let's take a look at some of the most depraved shit from the Epstein files, shall we? Perhaps the most depraved aspect of the Epstein files is not a single story or a single victim, but the fact that this shocking conveyor belt of horror was carried out with the precision and single-mindedness of a multi-million-dollar company. It was slick, highly organized, and we're still only just beginning to understand it all. At its center was, of course, Jeffrey Epstein, the big dog. But fat out from there, and you find a tight web of numerous people involved. Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's partner, who's currently serving a 20-year sentence for child trafficking and connected offenses, functioned as a chief operator. She would help recruit, groom, and manage underage girls, train them in how to behave, and act as an intermediary between Epstein and his victims. In her trial, one victim said that Maxwell had opened the door to hell. Then you have Sarah Kellen, born Sarah Kensington, a former interior designer who started working for Epstein in the early 2000s, initially as an assistant in his Manhattan office. However, numerous allegations claim that she also played a fundamental role in what was happening behind closed doors. Her responsibilities reportedly included scheduling massages, coordinating travel for victims, greeting them at properties, leading them to their rooms, and preparing spaces for whatever was going on. However, quite remarkably, she has never been charged with anything, and to rub salt into the wounds, she even applied for and received compensation from the Epstein Victims Compensation Program, asserting that she was also a victim of his abuse. She currently owns luxury property in both New York and Florida.
Oh my
$11
God.
million, so she's not doing too bad compared to some of the other victims. Alongside her was Leslie Groff, who apparently looked after the girl's living needs as well as maintaining the rules of behavior, allegedly. Nadia Marcinko, also known as Nada Marcinkova, whose responsibilities from piloting Epstein's Boeing 727-100 aircraft, referred to as the Lolita Express, more on that later, and general assistant, who sometimes took part in the depraved activities, allegedly. One victim testified that Epstein told her that he had bought Marcinko from her parents in Czechoslovakia in the 1990s. If anyone else said something like that, it would sound far-fetched. But this was Jeffrey Epstein, Jean-Luc Brunel was an evil little man who was investigated by Diane Sawyer in 60 Minutes over wide-ranging allegations that he used to routinely drug and rape women in the Paris modeling world in the 1980s and 90s, but again, no charges were ever brought. Probably no surprise that he fell in love with Epstein's crowd in the 2000s, with Virginia Giuffre accusing Brunel of having sexually trafficked girls for Epstein for years. Brunel put out a statement saying, "I strongly deny having committed any illicit acts or any wrongdoing in the course of my work as a scouter or model agency's manager." End quote. The fact that flight logs suggest he made no fewer than 25 trips aboard Epstein's plane might suggest otherwise. Allegedly. He was finally arrested in 2020 and charged with several offences, but he hanged himself in his cell in 2022. According to one report in the files, on Epstein's birthday, 12-year-old triplets were flown over from France for his pleasure. It's not clear whether Brunel was the giftee, but the sheer number of horrid stories involving this man means his suicide was, widely welcomed, let's say. Darren Endyke was Epstein's lawyer, and while there's little in terms of direct links with the most sordid behaviour, he has been sued for aiding, abetting, and facilitating Epstein's sex trafficking operation by helping him build a massively successful company. He also received a nice $50 million in Epstein's will, the largest of any beneficiary. Probably says a lot, doesn't it? Allegedly. Richard Kahn was the accountant who kept the insidious operation ticking over and no doubt sheltered it from prying eyes. Epstein liked to pay with cash as much as possible for obvious reasons, and Kahn was the man to ensure that there was always plenty of dirty Benjamins at hand. Both Kahn and Endyke have been subpoenaed for more information on Epstein as of February 2026, and things might not work out so well for them depending on how far the FBI want to go. These were the leading players, but below that was an ecosystem where people had to know what was going on. Drivers transported girls between properties, airports, and residences. Some testified that they didn't realize ages or purposes, while others acknowledged that they had an inkling but never knew the full scope. And then you've got to think about housekeepers, cleaners, guards, and probably many more that we didn't even think about. This wasn't just one evil man operating in the shadows. This was a fully functioning operation with a wide array of characters with clearly defined roles. Of all that's been said about Epstein, his island of horror, and the maniacal system that kept it all running, we have never heard anything about murder. That is until the most recent file drop. Now, we need to tread very carefully here. All of this is completely unverified at this point. All of this is very alleged. Allegations, just covering all my bases here, by a redacted source have been made that a young girl was sadistically tortured and ultimately murdered on Epstein Island. At this stage, there's nothing else to go on, but survivors have reported being told that people who caused problems disappeared on the island. It was made perfectly clear to them that they were far from formal jurisdiction and that island law was administered by those who had brought them there. Conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein Island have run wild since the name came to light in 2019. Everything from secret graves on the island, rooms built specifically for torture and ultimately execution.
It's like Shutter Island,
numerous missing
basically.
people linked to Jeffrey Epstein, allegedly. The official police
It looks like
narrative is
Shutter
that
Island.
none of that was found on the island, but at this point, there are plenty of people who don't believe the official narrative. Was a young girl really tortured and killed on the island? Skeptics will tell you it's unlikely and there's no hard evidence, but those are probably the same people who told you back in 2019 that a secret island where the rich and famous could come to have sex with underage girls was conspiracy theory waffle. Not all of Epstein's horrors took place on the ground. In 2001, as with many people with more money than they know what to do with, Jeffrey Epstein purchased an aircraft, a Boeing 727-100 to be exact. The aircraft had minor modifications, including a forward salon with a home theatre, a mid-cabin lounge and galley, and a private aft stateroom equipped with a queen-size bed and an ensuite lavatory. And this is where the story of this particular Boeing 727-100 deviates quite dramatically from others. It eventually got the nickname the Lolita Express because it had a tendency to arrive with a gaggle of worryingly young-looking women. Flight logs entered into evidence showed the aircraft was used frequently, with trips between New York, Florida, New Mexico, the US Virgin Islands, and international destinations. Epstein personally logged 600 hours on board the aircraft a year, often with guests on board. But the thing is, this wasn't used simply to get from A to B. Numerous testimonies and new information from the Epstein files have talked about sex parties with minors on board the aircraft organized by Epstein's fixer-in-chief, Ghislaine Maxwell, and all of the flight logs are publicly available. Usually it includes specific names, but scan through carefully and you'll notice countless flights that include one woman or two women. Some big names jump out at you. Bill Clinton reportedly flew on the aircraft 27 times. Naomi Campbell, Kevin Spacey, Chris Tucker, and while the name Donald Trump doesn't appear in the logs, several have stated that he flew on the Lolita Express more than once. Epstein once told author Michael Wolff that Trump had first consummated his new relationship with Melania while on board the plane. Pilots Larry Vasosky and David Rogers appear repeatedly in records as regular crew members, and both testified in legal proceedings. They described flying Epstein and his guests for years, with Vasosky acknowledging seeing young girls on flights, though he said he did not know their ages or circumstances. The Lolita Express became a key part of the large case against Epstein and Maxwell. If you want to traffic people, one of the biggest issues is transportation. Airports ask for passports and eventually begin to put two and two together. But when you've got your own private plane, you simply park on the runway of a remote airfield and step aboard. No TSA, no passports, no questions. Jeffrey Epstein owned numerous properties across the world, but none became as notorious as Little St. James, the island that he purchased in the 1990s. The island is small, roughly 70 to 78 acres, and is part of the United States Virgin Islands. It has a main house, 3 guest cottages, a caretaker cottage, a private desalination system, a helipad, and a dock, but Epstein was constantly upgrading things. The most recent photos from the island show what can only be described as a bizarre temple with a classic synagogue design. Did Epstein find God amidst rampant sex offending? Well, who knows, but I'm going to guess the answer's no. In 2008, Epstein's estate on Little St. James had 70 staff who all had to sign non-disclosure agreements, and now we know why. Little St. James, also referred to as Epstein Island, Orgy Island, P-Word Island, the Isle of Babes, and perhaps most appropriately, the Island of Sin, was the setting of events that still haven't fully come to light. But the Epstein files have given us a glimpse. There are reported mentions of underage orgies, with one very surprising name connected in one document, Stephen Hawking. Yes, the brilliant scientist with ALS who always talked through a robotic voice generator. There was an email.
Remember when remember in The Theory of Everything, he and his wife inexplicably break up, even though she supported him through all these years and all this stuff. And I always wondered about that. And then at the end, he leaves her for like a way younger woman that he meets at the lab or something. And it was like really kind of crazy. That's how his personal life went. I always wonder why they had their tiff, and now I maybe know.
Appeals to a friend, Virginia Giuffre, to disprove allegations of Giuffre's that Hawking had been involved in an orgy. To be clear, Giuffre never accused him.
Oh my god.
His inclusion is without a doubt the weirdest name in the Epstein files. Testimony from people working at the control tower at the St. Thomas Airfield, where the Lolita Express would arrive, claimed that girls, who often looked 16 or under, were coming and going from the island. They were often wearing baggy college sweaters and carrying designer shopping bags. Several victims stated that they were flown to the island aboard his plane, sometimes without clear information about where they were going, for how long, or who would be present. Once there, they described being surrounded by staff, guests, and guards with no independent means of leaving. Search warrants executed in 2019 recovered electronic devices, documents, and other materials from the islands, along with some pretty bizarre stuff. Creepy masks, a dentist's chair, ghoulish art, often with half-naked girls in, a blackboard that had the words power and deception written on it, stuffed animals, and a room with firefighter gear and police uniforms, which I'm guessing weren't used for health and safety training days. And
all right, got too dark. I am going to go to bed now, and it is Thursday night going into Friday, and I'm going to stop by recording now with a reminder that you've been watching Skycatlive. I'm a full-time variety gamer. Put me on in the background. Click on the cast face to donate. Come to the Twitch or the YouTube. Give me a like, sub, or follow. Had a lot of fun today playing video games and stuff. Come check me out. We'll do the same thing again tomorrow. Although tomorrow I got to go shopping. It'll be a little bit later in the day because I got to go shopping for stuff. So, but I will see you tomorrow. I am going to stop the recording here with a reminder that I have thousands of videos on my YouTube channel that all are good sessions like this. Come check me out. Give me some love. I thank you for paying attention to my boring long form content. I love you guys. You know, I don't care if it's boring. I love what I do. You know, I don't care. I love you guys. I'm going to stop recording.